This is the easiest sandwich bread recipe and it makes 2 loaves, so let's get started. You're going to dissolve 1/4 cup of sugar into 2 cups of warm water. Your water should be around 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, you'll add 1.5 tablespoons of yeast and let that proof for about 5 minutes. While that's sitting, you'll grab a separate bowl and you'll mix 5.5 cups of flour with 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So we're just going to whisk that together just to break up any clumps in the flour. Your yeast mixture should be all ready to go, so you're going to go ahead and pour 1/4 cup of oil. You can use vegetable or olive. Next, we're going to add our dry mixture to our wet mixture, 1 cup at a time, and stir until that dough forms. You could also use your KitchenAid for this, or you can do it by hand. And you also don't have to do 1 cup at a time. You can just sprinkle a little bit at a time if you prefer to do that instead. By the time you've reached 5 to 5.5 cups, it's going to be a little bit harder to stir. So I usually just use my hand to get as much flour in there as I can, and then I will dump it out and start kneading it. You want to knead it for about 3 to 5 minutes until smooth and that flour is incorporated. Depending on where you live, you might use a little bit less flour or a little bit more flour. If your dough is wet, add a tablespoon at a time, a little bit more flour. If it is dry, maybe a little splash of water just to get that moisture back into your dough. So place your dough in an oiled bowl and turn to coat on both sides, and then you'll let rise for 1 hour. After 1 hour, go ahead and punch down your dough, and then we will get started shaping into loaves. Once I take the dough out of the bowl, I like to knead it just a couple more times just to get it back into that ball, and then you'll cut it in half. Just measure with your eyes. I don't make sure it's perfect or anything. When shaping into loaves, you're going to want to do a rectangle with the width being the size of your bread pan that you will be using. I just stretch that dough and then I place it on the counter and really push into it, making sure to get all the air bubbles out. With a lot of recipes that I make, I try to follow a recipe and then I tweak it and kind of make it my own. And I feel like that's what I did with this bread recipe, but it turns out perfect each time. I'm telling you guys, there's no fail to this. Next, you're going to roll your bread loaf tightly, and then you're going to pinch in your sides and in the middle to really make that a loaf. After you've shaped them into your loaves, then you'll place them into your greased bread pans. Cover them with the tea towel and then let them rise for at least 30 to 40 minutes. Bake them at 350 degrees for approximately 30 minutes. And then I brush the tops with butter while the bread is still warm, and there you have it, the easiest sandwich bread ever.